We are here at the 2010 ABA Tech Show with marketing guru Ari Kaplan. Ari, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Fantastic speech.
Oh, thank you.
Well, what do you hope people will take away from this talk?
I really want people to take away the fact that they can be imperfect in their marketing, that they can execute on certain strategies, not being certain of the result, but being certain that the effort is genuine.
Fantastic. Do you have any particular words of advice for recent law school graduates or young lawyers who may not have an established network?
I speak at law schools all over the country, and so I'm often talking to the next generation. And what I find about them is that they are fearful that when they reach out to somebody, that person doesn't want to speak to them. It's an annoying factor. So they should do a few things. First, they should reach out first to alumni. They should try to take advantage of opt-in alumni networks and speak to those people who are most interested in speaking to them. The other thing they should do is leverage the power of their student experience. So if they're in a club, if they're in a group, if they have a student paper that they could write for, and use that as a chance to contact someone. Maybe they do a phone call where that person they're trying to meet speaks to their whole group, the sports law society, and they have a conference call. And so that person, it's very easy for them. They're in their office, they're having a call. But that student is now the conduit between a whole group of other students and this individual. And so it's not as if I'm contacting someone because I want something. Everybody wants that, right? The thing that students are always thinking is, how long do we have to speak before I can give you my resume? That's what they're thinking. Can I put it on my topic? That's what they want to do. They want to figure out how to make the conversation so brief that the resume gets there and everything is fine. What they really need to start doing is thinking, how can I execute on this conversation in a way that will give you the sincere impression, which I want people to get, that you're interested in them, which you should be. So if you're genuinely and sincerely interested, you can find a way to make that engagement have some sort of tangible effect, like a recorded call or an article or a blog post. Now you've created a foundation for an organic relationship.
Gotcha. So start with the network that you have, perhaps alumni, law student organizations that you've established ties with, and branch out from there.
And be bold. If there are people that you want to meet, and the problem is, people tend to meet others at an event. They think that's networking. Networking is going to an event, stuffing your pockets with cards, and then collecting a whole bunch of cards for people you're never going to talk to again. But networking has nothing to do with that. It's really about figuring out who are the people that you're trying to meet. Identifying 1, 2, 3, figuring out the specific people you're trying to meet, and then come up with connections and reasons to meet them. You want to create an opportunity to meet them. So for example, if I want to meet Greg Bufillis, I'll try to figure out, what is it about Greg? I know that he was a bankruptcy lawyer, and I know that he now is the founder of the Posse List, so maybe there's a way that I can find some connection to him. He has some residence sometimes in Washington. I went to law school in Washington. Maybe there's some connection there. And so when people think about who, and I just figured that out in seconds, right? You want to figure out, you do a LinkedIn search, you Google somebody, everything is very transparent now. There are very
really
few.
Leverage those online resources.
That's right. There are very few personal details that are not available to you. And so if you're not taking advantage of them, you don't know these people, that's a shame, because you have it available. The way to do it is to make it small. I didn't say list 1 to 100. I made a list of 1, 2, 3. So that is very easy. The key is really to make it manageable.
Gotcha. Is there anything else you can think of that you might want to address?
Yeah, I think that professionals, as a class of people in this market, need to take advantage of technology that's available to them, social media, figure out, how can I create a LinkedIn group? How can I leverage Twitter, not to contribute to the conversation, but to listen to the conversation? How is it that I can take some of these tools and use them as that means to promote someone else?
Okay. So are you comfortable talking about, if I ask the question, what social media strategies would you recommend for young attorneys to help expand their network?
Sure.
Okay.
I have found in conducting extensive research on asking young attorneys and students about their social media habits, and they, frankly, use social media tools. For the most part, they're on Facebook. And they don't use Facebook from a professional perspective. So I'm not sure they're maximizing their value, even for Facebook. But they are members of LinkedIn and other tools. They may be on Twitter, but they don't use them at all. And so my suggestion is to start small. Pay attention to the things that are going on Twitter. Pay attention to the audience of people and be specific. So if you're interested in real estate, pay attention to the lists of real estate lawyers or real estate professionals that are discussing topics that will be valuable to you that you can then recount when you have an interview or when you're having a conversation or when you're calling somebody to be your speaker on that call for the Real Estate Law Society.
Great. And how would you recommend making that transition from being an organization, say a member of an industry organization, being a mere member, to becoming an expert or really being able to connect with another member and create value out of it, professional career value out of that?
One of the best ways is to guest blog. So guest blog.
What does that mean?
It means there are, thousands and thousands of industry-related blogs. Many of them will be happy to accept a guest post from an expert in the industry or a student or somebody that's going to share good quality content. Maybe a student will recount a case that had just occurred. And that will be really helpful for this blog. And so if I'm the blogger, the owner of the blog, I would accept that content because it's going to be valuable to my readers. And now the student gets an opportunity for exposure to a much bigger audience. And in doing so, the student is now an expert. Just by the mere production of 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs, the student can say, my post just appeared on XYZ blog. So if he's then, or she is then calling a practitioner in that area, they could say, I don't know if you saw my post in the such and such blog on real estate, but I was talking about this new rule and I was hoping you might be able to talk about it. It establishes an air of credibility that is very hard for someone to reject. And in doing so, it sets the foundation for an honest relationship.
Well, thanks so much, Ari. That was very informative and I think important in this high technology society we live in now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.